Hi, welcome. I am so excited to talk to you today about 5 reasons that podcast management is thriving and why niching down to be a podcast manager is the new thing to do. Before we get started, I would like to introduce who I am. My name is Haili Murch. I am a podcast manager and a podcast host. I've been doing podcasts now for about 2 years, and I originally started my business August of 2018. And I started with a lot of general virtual assistant work. I was helping with email marketing, website design, Pinterest, YouTube channel stuff, and with podcasts. And ironically, a lot of my clients who I did all these kind of VA tasks for were podcasters. So I ended up helping them with their podcast and then helping them with some other VA work. But then I niched down to podcast management because I realized that it was something that was super needed and something that I was good at. And now I'm at a point that I can't take any more clients because that's how needed it is. I have to turn people down, and I hate that, but I need like 10 of me to do all the things and take all the podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there. I'm hoping to grow and expand and have a team eventually. That's something I'm working on. But I wanted to share this with you guys because I want you to see how needed this really is. In fact, I work for Brooke, and I help do the Alibi radio. So she's one of the podcasts that I kind of got into at the beginning as well, and I've been with her for a little over a year now, I think. So some fun things about me: I am married. I'm a mom of 2 boys. I love to travel and try new food, and I love having a good Netflix binge. I'm a Southern girl who often gets mistaken actually to be from the West. Not sure why. And I'm also a songwriter. So that's a little bit about me. Let's go ahead and dive in. I am super stoked to talk to you guys about this. So, 5 reasons that podcast management is thriving right now are these 5 things. And I'm going to touch quickly on all of them just to help you guys see why this is such a good idea to dive in right now, especially. First is most online entrepreneurs are launching podcasts. Second is podcast outsourcing is a high priority for those entrepreneurs. You can learn a variety of valuable and marketable skills. Number 4, you can have a variety of client work, which is super fun. And number 5, podcasts aren't going anywhere. This is a great market to go in right now. So let's dive into all of these. Why are these the reasons that podcast management is thriving? So the first reason is most online entrepreneurs are launching podcasts. So why this is happening is because entrepreneurs and business owners are launching them because it's such a great platform for their audience and for their content. It's free. It's a huge lead magnet into their business or what they're all about. And it helps a lot with their business growth and their audience growth. So even if a business owner doesn't have a podcast right now, I bet they will in the future, or maybe they just need a little nudge from you to start one, because podcasts are growing, and we're going to talk about in the 5th reason why they're not going anywhere. It's such a huge marketing tool for online entrepreneurs and business owners. It's a great way to kind of get out of the normal social media where they can write a lot of content and they can talk about it. You can hear their voice, you can hear their excitement, you can hear their hardships. They can talk. A lot of podcasts tend to be interviews in the entrepreneur and business world, not always, but you get a variety of people. It's also a great way for entrepreneurs and businesses to collaborate and work with each other by getting on each other's podcasts. So there's just a lot of really great benefits for it, and why a lot of entrepreneurs are doing it. The second reason is that podcast outsourcing is a high priority. Podcasts take a lot of work on the back end, and people don't have time for one more thing. If they're a business owner, they have a product or a service, they're working a lot on their content and working with their clients and doing all the setting up and the tech stuff. I mean, that's probably why, if you are someone that currently does VA work, that's why you're needed, right? Virtual assistants and all the different categories that fall under that with copywriting and bookkeeping and graphic design and website design. All these things are things business owners don't want to do. And there's a lot of online businesses right now, and even physical businesses that are going online, especially right now. So the thing about podcasts, like I said, they take a lot of work. And these entrepreneurs and business owners, they want to have all the things. They want to be everywhere. They want to be on Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and they want to have a podcast. But if they're going to be everywhere, they don't have time to manage all that, and they're hiring out to do that. So some of the things that a podcast manager does that takes a lot of time is that they edit and upload podcasts to platforms such as Libsyn. That might be a familiar term, maybe not, but it's a platform that people use to upload their podcasts so that it gets distributed to iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all the other places that people listen to podcasts. Podcast managers will write show notes. They can create graphics. So if you have a background in graphic design, it's a great way to add it to your list of things you can offer. They also might need help uploading their podcast to a blog or a website. And that's something that is really easy to learn as well, because all these things, and there's more, that was just a little bit of the things you could do, and those are the basics, but it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a week to manage a podcast. Now, if it's someone who has a dual podcast where they're doing 2 episodes a week, that's going to take maybe even longer. But once you get it down to, and they're doing 1 episode a week, you're averaging maybe an hour or 2 a week on their podcast. And someone who doesn't know how to do that, it could take them a lot longer to do that. So they don't want to spend an extra 2 to 3 max 4 on their podcast every week. So you could become a special part of their business if you were willing to take that on for them, because it is such a high priority to outsource. They want to just record and do the interviews, and then they want it to, all the other things to be taken care of, right? And that's where you could come in. So reason number 3 is you can learn a variety of valuable and marketable skills. So we just talked briefly about all the things that a podcast manager can do. There's a lot of other things that could be outsourced that come along with podcast management. But what's so great about it is that you can add to the list of things that you learn to help manage podcasts, and you can become even more valuable. So, like I mentioned, there's some basic needs, like someone might just say, I just want you to edit it and upload it. I already have a social media person. I already have someone who does my website. So maybe that's something as basic as that. So knowing how to edit and upload are 2 really basic things that are super important. But you can also learn and offer to do their show notes. So write up the notes that go into the platform, such as Libsyn, that basically has the information that goes out to iTunes and Spotify. So when someone says on a podcast at the end, you can find me on Instagram or at my website, and I have this freebie, look in the show notes. That's stuff that you can write out. You can also help upload to websites if you learn how to do that. You can schedule in Pinterest and create the Pinterest graphics, which leads me into, you can create graphics. You can create audiograms, which are the sound clips that you might see a lot on Instagram or Facebook, which is an image with a sound wave, and you get a preview of the episode. You can be the social media manager for the podcast. You can schedule social media and Pinterest. And something else that's super helpful is that you can help with guest management. I have done this for a couple clients. One client that I worked with for a short period of time, that was all I did. I helped manage her guests. And so if you keep adding on to your basically what you can offer and the skills that you have, you're going to be really, really valuable. And then you can get paid more for doing that, right? Now, if you're working with Alibi does have specific packages that come with the podcast management. But if you're working on your own, or if you create any custom packages to work with, some people maybe that you get referred to, or you have this one client you really want to work with or reach out to, the more skills you have, the more you can offer a client, and they're going to really want to work with you, because you're going to take a huge load off of their business, especially when it comes to their podcast. So reason number 4, you get a variety of client work. There is a podcast for everything now, right? It's kind of like a book or a movie. There's something for everybody out there. You might have interests with women entrepreneurs. You might want to work with entrepreneurs who are photographers or creatives, or maybe are in fashion, or maybe they're more specific to marketing and branding. Maybe you like the idea of working with mom podcasts. I have worked on many entrepreneur podcasts, but I've also um, worked on a lot of other different podcasts. And what's cool about the entrepreneur podcasts is that they're all unique. They all have their own branding and podcast theme, and that's what makes them special. And I've also, like I said, worked with like kind of the total opposite. I recently helped launch 2 chefs who have a podcast where they talk about their restaurant and how to do food and management of a restaurant, which is really cool. I've also helped launch a storytelling podcast and a spiritual podcast. But I also know there's a ton of other categories out there, right? There's health podcasts and motivational podcasts. There's more kind of storytelling type podcasts. My husband likes to listen to a lot of those, or ones that are like really factual. Um, and so it gives you a variety, an opportunity to work with a variety of people in different industries. It could potentially be super fun, and it could also give you access to some really cool businesses and opportunities. In this next slide, I just briefly kind of show you some of the different podcasts I've worked on. Like I said, I've kind of ventured into the entrepreneur world, and I've fallen into working with a lot of women. You can see the Momentum Radio, but that has now changed to Aloe Radio. This is the spiritual podcast, the Awaken podcast. The Ignite Your Side Hustle is one of my clients that I still have, who she does a lot with how to manage and own a side hustle, how to get it going. Really awesome podcast. And then you can kind of just see some of the other varieties. So there's a lot of really cool opportunities when it comes to podcast management and the variety of things you can learn and do. Okay, and reason number 5, podcasts are not going anywhere. I wanted to end on this because I wanted you to get super stoked and excited to see the numbers and see what's really happening, and why this is such a great opportunity right now to dive into this podcast world and managing them. Back in 2006, only 22% of the adult population in the US was aware of podcasts, okay? By 2020, so this year, this figure has risen to 75%. So a lot of people know what podcasts are. Estimated 88 million podcast listeners in 2019, and it's forecasted that the number of podcast listeners will surpass 160 million in 2023. Guys, that's only a few years away, and it's expected to double in how many people are listening to podcasts. That means there's going to be more podcasts, there's going to be more listeners, and there are going to be a lot of business owners and podcasters who are going to really want your help. So this is proof that this is the time to dive in. You're in the right place at the right time. So way to go. So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I just put together to help people that are wanting to niche down into podcast management. So I created a course called How to Become a Podcast Manager. It is now available on Aloe, and it's just the perfect opportunity to get into the game of podcasting. Okay, it's a hot market right now. You can make money doing it, and you can have a lot of fun doing it. So the podcast course is a 6-module course. It can take you about 6 weeks if you did every module every week. And it goes kind of from beginning to end on how you set up like your mindset and get ready for a podcast management business, how you actually do the editing, how you do all the tasks that are included, and then how you manage your clients. So to go into the details a little bit more about what is included and what you can expect. 1, how to become a podcast manager. So what are the things that it entails? And we talked a little bit about this in this webinar, but it goes a little bit more detailed. Then we talk about in module 2, setting yourself up for success. This is very much a mindset module, but I feel that it's really important to dive into the reasons why you're doing it, what's the motivation behind it, you know, where are you going with this? So it really helps drive that energy that you need to sustain a really awesome podcast management business. Module 3 is a filled with info packed module. It goes over all the softwares and programs that you would need to use to be able to manage a podcast. Module 4 is how you edit a podcast. So I go through kind of how you just do some basic editing. I use GarageBand, which is an free Apple program that you can use. A lot of what I do show can be used in other sound editing platforms. So keep that in mind. Module 5 is really cool. It's a step-by-step from beginning to end of how I would go through the process of managing from editing to uploading to doing graphics to putting it on a website. So it gives you a lot of detail on the whole process. And then module 6 is just about managing clients. Once you've got them, once you've found them, how do you get your systems in place? How do you keep things going? So this course just has everything you need in order to get started in the podcast management world. It helps you understand the softwares and systems, and I do it for you start to finish so you understand all the pieces of it. So if you're interested in doing the How to Become a Podcast Manager course, it's available at alabi.com, and you can go on there to get more details and information. And if you go on there and you still have questions, please contact me. This is my email, hello@hailimurch.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Haili Murch. You can also reach out to Alabi team if you are wanting some more information. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this got you excited. I hope this is something that really motivates you to niche down into podcast management and add that on to your skills list and continue to learn more pieces that can help you be super valuable to a lot of the entrepreneurs and businesses out there that really, really need you right now. So I hope you join me in this course, and thanks for listening.